Good afternoon. It's Saturday. I'm not usually here on Saturdays, and I realize that. And I was thinking about why I'm not usually here on Saturday. I think I can't claim a Sabbath rest, just maybe because Chris is home and we're just doing other stuff. But I was thinking about why, why, why Sabbath, and I was thinking about how my understanding of Sabbath has changed so much over the years. And I'm curious about your understanding. So I entitled it Evolution of Understanding, and in this particular case of Sabbath, but it could be any aspect of our faith, any aspect of our understanding of God, Jesus Christ, who he did, who he was, what he did. Oh man, it's like a fleck of dust went in. Um, so I was thinking about my understanding of Sabbath, and this is kind of an overview, but I can remember as a kid, we were taught that Sunday was the Sabbath. And we didn't do stuff necessarily. Like there weren't meetings. You didn't go shopping. You didn't have kids didn't have sports on Sunday. It was a day to be with family. Um, I know for my mom, that was the one day of the week she would sometimes stop at a store where they had already cooked chickens, and that was kind of like a really new thing. There was this little corner store in our town, family-owned market, where she would go and get this because all the other grocery stores were closed on Sunday. But if you went to this little market, you could get a pre-cooked hot chicken, and then she didn't have to fix a big dinner, which would be a break for her. But I can remember you went to church, Sunday school. You might have a friend over to play or go to their house to play on a Sunday, or just be home on Sunday. And then sometimes there was something to go back to church in the evening. They might have a potluck dinner or a speaker come, but it wasn't an every week thing. Like I have friends who, you know, unless you go to church 3 times a week, it's you haven't gone to church. They have to go to Sunday twice and Wednesday nights. And it's just a denomination thing. So that was my understanding of Sabbath growing up. And then somewhere along the line, more things started getting in and more stores started to open up. And then as an adult, trying to understand, you know, we didn't look at Sabbath meant go to church. It didn't have anything to do with resting. It was like, well, you go to church and you may not go to work on that day. And then a number of years ago, well, quite a few years ago, I found out that, well, Sabbath was actually Saturday. Sabbath in the context of the Jewish Sabbath is Saturday. It's like, oh, then why do we have church on Sunday and why aren't we celebrating on Saturday? I mean, it just, like I said, there is an evolution of awareness, might be a better word, and did a fair amount of looking into the Hebraic roots of Christianity and understanding the cultural implications and looking at scripture and trying to decide, what do we do? What do we do? Do we try to honor a Saturday Sabbath? Is Sunday going to be our Sabbath? Or I know people who just say, well, I work on the weekend. And not me. I'm just saying this person would say, oh, I work on the weekend. So I just pick a day and make that my Sabbath. And is that okay too? Like, are we looking at the spirit of the law or are we looking at the letter of the law? And to me, the spirit of the law would be saying, I trust God. I'll work 6 days a week and I'm going to take one day off and trust God because that's what he commands us to do, to take a day of rest and to trust him to trust him through that process. And I know we tried Saturday Sabbaths, we tried Sunday Sabbaths, and I have to admit that Chris and I are not very good at Sabbath resting. Um, it may not be the work you go to the office for or whatever, but we fill up our time with other things. Sunday primarily for us is church day. We go to Sunday school, we go to church. After I don't go to Sunday school anymore. I stopped going to Sunday school because I'm going after church. I'm going to the restaurant and meeting up with other folks, and we're studying healing, scripture and healing, and through the John G. Lake ministry, through Curry Blake. So we do that, and it's like I'm not doing Sunday school and Sunday service and going to Curry's. It's just more than my brain can take in. So I look at Jesus, who said that he fulfilled the Sabbath. Now, what did he mean by that? Well, he was healing the sick, and he got in a lot of trouble for healing sick people on the Sabbath, and he did it more than once. And he's like, how could I not? How could I not do this? And he does what he saw his father doing. So those things are good things to do on the Sabbath. I don't know. I can't say this is what you need to do or this is what you should do. I'm not even sure what I should do. And should's a strong word. There are lots of coulds. Would means what I choose to do. Could means what I'm capable of doing. And should implies that there's a consequence if you don't do it. So that's where should comes in. And I don't know. I don't have an answer for this. And I'm just kind of musing and sharing thoughts here. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Because I know that there's a number of people who listen here who honor a Saturday Sabbath, who honor a Sunday Sabbath, or maybe their idea of honoring Sabbath is going out and praying for people to get well, healing the sick like Jesus did. So I'm curious. I'd like to know your thoughts on that. And it just crossed my mind. I was thinking about that today as I was sewing at my sewing machine and working on a quilt. And I have plans to go shopping. So that's not very Sabbath honoring today. So is tomorrow my Sabbath? And do I take a Sabbath? And what does that mean? So that's it. Those are my thoughts. I am not decided on this. I'd like to know your thoughts. So put something down below. Let me know what you're thinking, okay? Thanks. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.